Hello everybody, welcome to the Canadian Shield. My name's Sterling. I'm your host. Pierre Poilievre and some of the regional conservatives were at the Calgary Stampede. As far as I know, Pierre Poilievre is the only federal leader to show up to the Stampede, at least officially. It was a long rally. It was 45 minutes that Pierre and his wife were on stage. His wife was only on stage to introduce him at the beginning. Mr. Poilievre, however, had a lot to say, and the place was filled, standing room only, shoulder to shoulder, and the audience was engaged. They were laughing, they were clapping, they booed a couple of times when names were mentioned that they didn't want to hear. Chrystia Freeland and the local mayor, the Calgary mayor. I would say before I get into it that it's telling that Calgary is a city that has an NDP mayor and Jagmeet Singh didn't show up. I wonder why. Especially with the NDP in the middle of a kind of a leadership race right now in the province, why Jagmeet Singh wouldn't make an appearance. I think that maybe he realizes, just like Justin Trudeau does, that this country is no longer has the stomach for socialists. I don't think the world does, if I'm honest with you. All right, before I get into it, I would encourage you to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share this channel with all your socials. Okay, so there was a couple of really good burns, but I'm going to open with what I think is one of the best ones. I have a still of Pierre Poilievre and his new shiny Axe the Tax belt buckle, which is on the thumbnail. Now, the one thing about the cowboy culture that you may not be aware of, and bear in mind if you don't know this, Calgary Stampede is a rodeo. It looks like a carnival when you see it on the news, but it's got bronco busting and cow roping and chuck wagon racing. It's a massive endeavor. There are cowboys from all like Argentinian cowboys. There's all kinds of people that come to the Calgary Stampede, and it is done as a rodeo. So in rodeo culture, in cowboy culture, a belt buckle, well, that has more impact than a fancy truck. So when he pulled out that belt buckle, the room went wild. And I'm going to open with it because I think it's really neat.
We now have 2 million people lined up at food banks. The Food Bank Association says 25% of Canadians now live below the poverty line, a record-smashing number. You think it's bad out here? There are now 256 homeless encampments in Toronto. 50 opened in 3 months alone. Scenes that we would only have imagined in a third world country before Trudeau and the NDP took office and instituted a weird, woke ideology that not only seeks to take our money, punish our work, tax our food, and undermine our entrepreneurs, but also destroys our education, dishonors our history, and divides our people. Because he might be gone before I arrive. There's talk of him hitting the road real soon, eh? People in Toronto voted because he's not worth the cost. They wanted common sense conservatives instead. And ever since, Justin Trudeau has been in panic mode. He's not here at the Stampede, is he? Nobody's seen him around. Is anybody missing him? But don't feel offended, Calgary, that Justin Trudeau is hiding from you. He's actually hiding from his own caucus. Terrified to meet with the people who are supposed to be his greatest supporters. Soon, you can imagine a caucus meeting of the NDP Liberals in a phone booth with just Jag and Justin. Oh my goodness. And so now his MPs, who literally didn't care about the fact that their constituents couldn't eat, heat, or house themselves, they got home and they said this election is going to eventually happen whether we like it or not, and we're all going to be out of a job. And so we need to get ourselves a new leader, because everyone is realizing that while the emperor has many costumes, he has no clothes. Even the media's got in on the act. Have you seen this? So the first time in Justin Trudeau's career, they've started asking him some tough questions. Now, don't get too excited, because let's be clear. It's not that the media has finally realized that their job is to hold the government accountable to the people rather than the people accountable to the government. It's because they're trying desperately to get someone other than the dud who's leading the Liberal Party to take me on in the next election. But here's the bad news for them. Every other possible leader is just like Justin, right? So what have you got? You've got the finance minister whose idea of deficit reduction is canceling Disney Plus. You've got the squeaky little guy who is responsible for industry, who's handed out our billions of dollars to actually kill jobs. Or you've got the housing minister who caused both an immigration crisis and a housing crisis in under 2 years. And that's why what they want to do is bring someone in they can claim is completely different because he can comb his hair and wear his normal navy blue socks. So they're now talking about carbon tax Carney, right? And I understand carbon tax Carney has even decided to visit Canada and leave Davos for a few weeks to bring much of the brilliance and wisdom from above. He's busy, you know, saying that we need to defund Canada's energy sector, all the while his company makes billions buying pipelines in the Middle East and in Latin America. Carbon tax Carney is going to jet in and tell Canadians how he's going to spend their money and run their lives. But carbon tax Carney is just like Justin. He's just like Justin. They're all just like Justin. And that's why in the next election, the Canadian people are going to choose a real change, a common sense conservative government that will axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. It's ironic, with these socialists. In the end, when they concentrate the wealth in the hands of government, who ends up benefiting? Those with the most political power, and those are always the most privileged and elite people. It is always the working class that ends up impoverished and lined up at food banks. My friends, the reality is that the foundation of any free market economy, of all prosperity, of all real economic justice is sound money. The oil and gas industry in this country is not the enemy, and when I'm Prime Minister, I will champion Canadian energy. National Bank just put forward a study demonstrating that if we exported clean Canadian natural gas to India to help provide for half of their future needs on their electrical grid and displacing coal in the process, we would reduce global emissions by 2.5 billion tons, which is 3 times the total emissions of all of Canada. Wouldn't that be a real solution for the environment?
Okay, so you heard that. A couple things I would say. 256 homeless encampments means that there's at least 100 of them that are getting semi-permanent. They're starting to build structures. They're figuring out where everybody should have their poop. They're assigning who's in charge. They're assigning who gets a cut, because those homeless encampments are not all they're not kumbaya at all. It's all about, if you want to sleep here, you got to pay. Got to pay a tax. Ironically, the report released by the National Bank, which I found, and I'll do a different I'll do a video based on it solely and completely, but I just want to leave you with this thought. After he burned, Jagmeet and Justin and Freeland and all of that, Guilbeault needs to understand that by sending our Canadian gas to other regions so that they can burn it to produce electricity, not only will we improve our economy and our standard of living, but we will take more out of the air in carbon than we could ever hope to do as Canadians in 5 decades. But he can't see that because he's an ideologue. He's not trying to solve the problem. He's trying to get statues built. All right, I'm going to wrap here. I want to thank you for listening. I'll talk to you next time.